What's up, guys? Today we are playing Starting 9. So the preface of this game, we each have 9 picks. Today our topic is the greatest fantasy football team that we can put together. So we have 1 quarterback each, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, a flex position, a defense, and a kicker. So we're going to go back and forth, draft order, pick some of the greatest players. We aren't specifying seasons because I would get a little too nitpicky.
Yep.
And, to focus on longevity sometimes too is, a better pick in itself than just a one-off season.
Absolutely. So, I think we're ready to go. Off screen, we did a little who's going to go first, flipped a coin. You won. So with that, you get the first overall pick.
And with the first pick, this is a no-brainer. He had the greatest fantasy season in history, and that is LaDainian Tomlinson. There's not much you can say about the guy. 2006, he had 481.1 fantasy points. He had 1,800 rushing yards, 28 rushing touchdowns.
That's ridiculous.
28 rushing touchdowns. Most
ridiculous.
Quarterbacks don't throw over 28 touchdowns. Then he had 508 receiving yards and another 3 receiving touchdowns. So 31 total touchdowns from a running back.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Insane.
Yeah, fuck. So I say fuck as like that would have been my first overall pick, but there was like a handful of running backs.
So many running backs.
I feel like you couldn't go wrong with. And I'm also going to pick a running back here because I feel like those are the most important positions here. I might be slightly reaching a little bit. This might be someone I could get later on, but just out of the pure dominance and the smaller window compared to some of these other guys, Christian McCaffrey.
I mean, there's
the late 2010s from 2018 to 2019, 2020. I mean,
he is the second greatest fantasy season of all time.
We're talking about 1,000 receiving yards, 116 catches, and 1,400 rushing yards on top of that. And then you have 4 receiving touchdowns, so 19 touchdowns in total. Played all 16 games, second most PPR points in history.
Only 10 off of LT.
Only 10 off of LT.
Only 10.
He's just pure definition of like when he's healthy, he is, but I think he's the most dominant fantasy football running back. He's so electric. You can use him in a million different ways, and he's a PPR monster.
All right, so my second overall pick, I'm gonna double up and finish off my running back category. He was Christian McCaffrey before Christian McCaffrey, and that's Marshall Faulk.
Oh, great pick. Great pick.
The third best PPR fantasy season of all time.
Yeah.
1,300 rushing yards, 18 rushing touchdowns, then 830 receiving yards, and another 8 touchdowns on 81 receptions. I mean, especially in the 2000s, it wasn't too much of a passing league. Backs didn't catch the ball too much.
Sure, yep.
He was a trendsetter for that.
Way before his time.
Yeah, way before his time. And another monster to add to my backfield.
Okay, so you picking a second running back is making me change directions a little bit. I'm not picking my second running back yet. I know we have a flex. I know you could take someone, but I'm going to take the first wide receiver off the board.
Okay.
Now, this could be a reach. This very well could be a reach, but I would not be able to live with myself if I didn't end up with Antonio Brown on my team. Let's just be real here. There was like a 3 to 5 year stretch where he was hands down the best receiver in football. Just constant domination. He was 130 catch seasons. I mean, he was getting upwards of 200 targets a game. As reliable as you can be for touchdowns. I mean, he averaged almost a touchdown a game. Just years of dominance. Also someone that helped me win a fantasy football league. Thank you, Antonio Brown, for that, man. And just, it's obviously different conversation stuff, but you want to talk about like Hall of Fame, like careers and stuff. Like, I think he kind of like put his name in that hat for that few year stretch. Obviously there's some other stuff that might hold him back from making it, but I think just from a playing standpoint, like those years just showed us that he was one of the most dominant wide receivers of our generation.
All right, so I'm gonna add a receiver now myself.
Okay.
Arguably the greatest receiver of all time, Jerry Rice.
See, I like the direction you went down here. Okay, I wasn't thinking that.
I mean, when you just put it in terms of season output and then also longevity and consistency, as good as they come.
If fantasy was a thing when Jerry Rice was around, he'd be the number 1 pick every year.
Oh my God. So notably the 95 season, he had 1,800 yards, 15 touchdowns, and 122 receptions.
That's stupid.
Not to mention, like...
That's stupid.
So Randy Moss has the record with 23 touchdowns.
Right.
Jerry Rice had a shortened season because of the strike one year and was easily on pace to break that.
Yeah.
He only played 12 games, and he had like 15 or 16 touchdowns. I got to find the number, but...
Absolutely ridiculous.
Just insane.
I'm going to go back to take a wide receiver 2 now. And when I think of this wide receiver, I think one of the greatest of all time, but I also think back on a season. I know we talked earlier how we're kind of looking at the overall view, but it's hard to pick this guy without pointing out this one season, and that's Randy Moss. Randy Moss is probably one of the most gifted receivers to ever play the game, but his time in New England, very short-lived, but holy shit. You were just talking about the record, 23 touchdowns in a season, all 16 games, honestly, on one of the most dominant, one of the most memorable teams of all time. Obviously came up short in the Super Bowl, but Randy Moss was a major reason why that team was as good as it was.
I feel like it's time to add Marvin Harrison.
Marvin Harrison. Okay, I like it.
I mean,
his son.
Oh, his son's
gonna be a problem.
His son is gonna be an absolute
problem. Like father, like son.
Like Marvin Harrison, one of the most dominant, and I mean, just playing with Peyton, like being Peyton Manning's number one. It's just like being Randy Moss and Brady. Like one of the, it's so hard to describe how good Marvin Harrison was in every aspect of the game, and he's such an underappreciated receiver when you talk about like the greats.
Yep.
From 1999 to 2006, he had 826 receptions, which was an average of 102 per season. 11,219 yards, which was an average of 1,400 per season.
Yep.
And then 101 receiving touchdowns in 7 years.
And that's ridiculous.
Which is 13 a season.
You can't go wrong with Marvin Harrison. That's a great pick.
He had 1,000-plus receiving yards and 10-plus touchdowns in his first 8 seasons.
That's ridiculous. That's consistency. I'm going to go back to running back because I do need my second running back here. There is one guy.
There's some great ones left.
There are some great ones, but there is one guy that has been mentioned, needs to finally find his home on my team, and that's Priest Holmes. We want to talk about trendsetters.
Yeah.
You want to talk about guys that were doing it before your favorite player's favorite player, bro. Priest Holmes in 2003 had one of the most dominant fantasy football seasons for any position, not just running back.
He did.
Any position. 1,400 rushing yards. 27 rushing touchdowns, 74 catches, no receiving touchdowns, but playing...
I mean, 74 catches in that era
74 catches is a lot. We don't have to even... 27 rushing touchdowns makes up for the lack of receiving touchdowns. But just like played all 16 games, this guy was doing things before fantasy football was even a fucking thing. If he was like around nowadays, bro, he would be fucking destroying guys. He'd be the king of fantasy. He was the king of fantasy football before fantasy football was a thing.
All right, well, it's time to fill my flex.
Okay, we're doing that.
I'm going to triple up on running backs.
Okay.
Because Steven Jackson's still on the board.
Ooh,
Again, another guy.
I like it.
Who was one before his time. And it's just extremely underappreciated. Again, like his third season in the league, 1,500 rushing yards, 13 touchdowns. And then he had 90 catches for 806 yards, and then another 3 touchdowns. Like, you know, we look at McCaffrey and Kamara now in what they do. Like Jackson, Holmes, Marshall Faulk, these guys all did it before them.
Yep.
And it's very underappreciated. So I'm taking Steven Jackson.
Okay.
As my flex.
So I'm going to also take my flex now because I feel like I have to get this guy out of the way. So I was going a little different route. I'm going with the receiver for flex, not a running back.
Okay.
I was looking at a handful of guys. You got Calvin Johnson. Yeah. You got Julio Jones. Fuck, dude. Even Justin Jefferson. I know he's young.
I would
you can make a case. You can make a case.
100%,
absolutely.
100%.
But I am going off of one of the most dominant seasons you have ever seen from a wide receiver in football. The man that won the Triple Crown last year, leading the league in catches, receiving yards, and receiving touchdowns.
Yep.
Cooper Kupp. Cooper fucking Kupp, man. I mean, again, it was one season. Was hurt a lot of this year. Didn't play much. Didn't really get a chance to capitalize on it.
Yeah.
This guy almost had 2,000 rushing yards. He almost broke the record for for receiving yards. Excuse me. And just pure domination. Played all 17 games. Won the Super Bowl MVP. I mean, you want to talk about one of the best seasons ever. I think Cooper Kupp that season has to be
absolutely
the conversation.
Incredible.
I'm not saying it is, but it's in the conversation.
Absolutely incredible.
So for me to pick Cooper Kupp and add him to a team that includes Antonio Brown and Randy Moss already, like I'm feeling pretty good about my receivers right now.
So I could go tight end now, or I could go quarterback.
Okay, 2 big positions.
They are 2 very big positions. I'm gonna go Lamar Jackson. over Mahomes, which is debatable.
Okay.
I mean, Lamar Jackson's 2019 season.
Yeah, MVP season. Unbelievable.
And then, not to mention, he didn't play Week 17, which would have put him in front of Mahomes.
Sure.
Probably would have put him in front of Mahomes fantasy point wise, because it's only a 2-gap difference. They have the 2 greatest quarterback seasons of all time.
Yep.
Jackson had 415, Mahomes had 417. So yeah, you didn't play Week 17. Most fantasy leagues are done by then.
Right.
I mean, as a quarterback to be 10th all time. I mean, even Mahomes to be 9th all time, but to throw for 3,000 yards isn't much to blink at,
right?
Especially nowadays. But 36 passing touchdowns.
That's a lot. That's
insane.
For what
red
what
zone
he
efficiency.
does, yeah, 100%.
Then another 1,200 rushing yards. And 7 touchdowns.
That's what I was gonna add. I think that's like when I draft a fantasy football team. Obviously, you want the best guy on your team, but I also look for someone that can do more than the next guy. Like Lamar Jackson, not only is he going to get you the passing touchdowns, like you said,
the rushing
the
numbers
yards,
are huge.
He's putting up a running back numbers too.
Huge,
and that's a huge player to have in fantasy.
Yes.
Nah, that's a great pick. I like that pick a lot. We're sticking with it. I'll just stay on the quarterback here. I'm going to take Pat Mahomes.
Yeah,
I'm going to take Pat Mahomes.
You might as well.
You said all these great things about him already.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just slightly a step ahead of Lamar Jackson.
He keeps breaking his own records.
This past year, he broke his own records. Very, very little. But it's the consistency, man. It's the talent.
In and out. Every year.
We go into this year with the Kansas City Chiefs trade Tyreek Hill. And everyone's thinking, they're not saying they're not making the playoffs, this and that, but they're going to take a big step back. Like, you lose Tyreek Hill. That's a major part of an explosive offense. And here they are, a few days away from being in the AFC Championship for the 5th straight season. And why is that?
He's gone every year.
Why is that?
Every year he started, he's gone to the AFC Championship.
It's because Pat Mahomes is, we're not going to get into this discussion now, but, when it's all said and done, Pat Mahomes is going to go down as one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game. And we're just in the midst of it right now. And it's special to watch. It's really special to watch.
And I will say, it's corny to hate Pat Mahomes, too.
I don't know why. The dude, he's a good
He's
dude.
the villain because he's good.
You can hate his family.
Oh.
You can hate his family. That's fine, but he does nothing wrong.
No.
The guy handles himself well. The guy is very well spoken, and he goes out there and he performs like a pro.
All right, well, it's time to go tight end. There's a lot to choose from. Obviously you have Antonio Gates.
Yep,
your boy. You can go way back, and you can get Tony Gonzalez. You have your Travis Kelce, of course.
Yep.
Who if you ask me in 3 or 4 years, I might take Travis Kelce.
Fair.
But right now, I'm taking the man who has 4 of the top 10 tight end fantasy seasons of all time, Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah,
he's the greatest.
Right
now, the greatest tight end of all time.
Right now, I'd say he is. Yep.
Kelce sure looks like he's on his way numbers wise, because obviously outside of fantasy, Gronk was much more.
4-time champ.
I think Gronk was much more impactful as a tight end too, as in the blocking game. And things like
he
that.
did more.
Kelce's a glorified receiver. But yeah, there's not much to say about Gronk. The touchdown numbers were insane. The things he did with the ball in his hands, the run after the catch, and it wasn't the shifty run after the catch. It's the stiff arm 7 people and drag them.
It's called being dominant and just being stronger than your opponent.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
One of the most, if not maybe the most dominant players at his position of all time.
I think that's a more than fair assumption.
The guy was a cheat code.
Rob Gronkowski was the guy I was going to go with as well.
Yeah.
Because it's an easy pick.
So such an easy pick.
You got guys like Tony Gonzalez. You mentioned Antonio Gates. I'm gonna go with Kelce.
It's a good pick.
It's just
because you get the longevity too, the consistency.
I'm looking at these last few seasons, man. I'm looking at
adding his name to that list.
92 catches, 103 catches, 105, 110.
Every year,
every year,
especially after losing Tyreek now too, where he's the true number 1 option on that team.
Exactly, and it's just you want to talk about being set up, for success from the very beginning. Travis Kelce these last 5 years. All those years I listed off for all the past 5 years.
Yeah.
All those years of with Pat Mahomes. But he's gonna get you at least 10 touchdowns a year. Travis Kelce, you know how absurd it is to be taking a tight end in the first round? He's like a lock for a first round pick every year because of his targets and his share, and he's going to go down as one of the best tight ends of all time. I can't tell you he's going to be better than Gronk, but from the statistics standpoint, like you said, and the trajectory of his career, he's going to be in that conversation one day. So I have no problem taking Travis Kelce. Putting him and Mahomes back together, I gotta love it.
All right, so we're down to 2 spots now.
The 2 boring positions.
So defense is, this one's a little weird for me.
Okay.
Because for whatever reason, this team didn't show up in a lot of the top defense scoring seasons of all time. And I don't want to cop out and pick a 1-year defense that dominated, like the Bears. I think the Bears have
2012 Bears. Yep.
I'm going with the Legion of Boom in Seattle. That stretch.
No, you didn't.
That stretch of 4 to 6 years was just absolute like their defense had a nickname, and like there's not many defenses that get, like the Steel Curtain got a nickname back in the day for being absolutely dominant. You get if your defense gets a nickname.
And Legion of Boom is pretty intimidating too. With 3, 4, 5
had
years.
Sherman, Earl Thomas, Cam Chancellor, even Brandon Browner. Brandon Browner. People forget about Brandon. I mean, obviously, for good reason. Forget about Brandon Browner
for good reason.
I mean, and then it just seemed like everyone they plugged in and played. Like Jeremy Lane was a Super Bowl hero too.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Just these. I mean, that defense was. Bobby Wagner, Bruce Irvin.
Bobby Wagner's big name too, and they were dominant.
So in terms of being a consistent defense through and through, I have to go with the Legion of Boom. Just so good. My other pick probably would have been a few years before that, like the Niners with Navarro Bowman, Pat Willis.
Sure.
Justin Thomas, I think. Like that would have been my other pick. But the Legion of Boom.
I'm so happy. I'm not happy. I'm
There's
upset that we were thinking the same way with this, where I wasn't sold on like these just top teams for one season.
Exactly.
And Legion of Boom was the team I was gonna pick because just pure dominance. I'm gonna stick to that same type of pick. I'm not picking a team that just was one and done. I'm actually going to pick a team that, I mean, if you look at top performances, like, all time, like maybe you'll find them like towards maybe the late 10s, early teens, but like the New England Patriots, I'm picking their defense because of, did they ever have like the hands down best defense in the league? Were they ever did they ever have a Legion of Boom type of situation
going
on? No, they didn't.
Always a top 10 defense.
But let's be real. Even today, they make it work. Their top 10 defense, they were as consistent and as, not make it, like, again, they weren't like the best defense in the world, but they got the job done every year for 20 years. So borderline 20 years. And it's like it's hard for me to shoo away from that. Like, if you can pick a defense that's going to be reliable and give you that for that long, provide you a dynasty, like Tom Brady is the reason why the Patriots are a dynasty, but it's a team sport. The defense was a big part of that as well.
Kicker. The last one.
I think this is a very similar thing where we're kind of looking at the top guys, but like,
that's the thing. Like, I'm not taking
David Akers. Greg the Leg's cool.
I could take Greg the Leg.
Yeah, he has a cool nickname. Jeff Wilkins, Matt Bryant.
I just gotta take Steven Gostowski.
You're a fucking asshole.
I mean,
you're
15 years at kicker. 1,800 career points.
Yeah.
3 Super Bowls.
And
not that Super Bowls matter for fantasy, but
right. But
just as clutch as they come.
I was gonna say,
as clutch as they come.
You want to talk about like guys that step up when you need a kicker to step up? Yeah. He was stepped up 10 times. It was
either him or Vinatieri.
I like what you said. If it ain't Vinatieri, it's Gostowski. I'd like to pick Vinatieri. I'm actually going to go with Justin Tucker on this one.
It's an incredible pick.
Again, he's not a guy, he's not on the top seasons for kickers. He doesn't have the best season ever for a kicker fantasy points wise, but accuracy.
Yeah.
And it's so rare that you see Justin Tucker miss. Like, when you see Justin Tucker miss a kick, the announcer that doesn't happen a lot, right? And sometimes when he misses, it's a jinx. Most accurate kicker of all time.
90.5 field goal percent. He's never missed in his career between 20 and 29 yards. He's missed 3 times between 30 and 39 yards.
That's wild.
12 times between 40 and 49. And then 50 plus, it's 50 plus. He's missed 23 times. That's it.
That's wild.
Out of 80 attempts.
Yeah, that is pretty ridiculous. So I'm just gonna take the reliable guy. I'm gonna take the guy that I know can kick me a field goal when I need it, or an extra point. So if it ain't Gostowski, it's Tucker. So I'll take him.
I think that fills our team. Okay. So we'll run it down.
Let's run it down. You go first.
So at quarterback, I have Lamar. My 2 running backs, LaDainian Tomlinson, Marshall Faulk. Wide receiver, we have Marvin Harrison and Jerry Rice. We got Gronk at tight end. My flex is Steven Jackson. The Legion of Boom, Seattle Seahawks defense, and then Steven Gostowski at kicker.
That's a very well-rounded team.
I like it. It feels very consistent on a week-to-week basis.
It's very consistent. Like I said before, you have a lot of under-the-radar guys, but then you, obviously defense kicker aren't as big, but then you bring in Legion of Boom.
Exactly.
And you fill out every
Yeah.
position very, very
Yep.
well. And my team, Ben, at quarterback, I have Patrick Mahomes. Running back, I have Christian McCaffrey and Priest Holmes. Wide receiver, Randy Moss and Antonio Brown. Tight end, Travis Kelce. Flex, Cooper Kupp. My defense, Patriots Dynasty. My kicker, Justin Tucker.
It's a great team.
We picked some good teams, Ben.
We did pick
Some good teams. We were looking, like, obviously you look at the highest seasons totals, just a collective of top fantasy players ever. There's a handful of guys to choose from. A lot of good guys we left off, like genuinely a lot of good guys we left off. But I think, considering what we were given, I think we made some pretty fucking good teams.
I do too.
Pretty fucking good teams. And I want you guys to let us know what you think of our teams. Do we make a good team? Do we make a shitty team? Who made the better team? Let us know in the comments. Like we said earlier, please make sure to like and subscribe. Check out all of our other content on this platform, all other platforms as well. Look up Clutch Points. We're making great content all over the place. You can follow me and Ben. We're going to put our @, all of our socials right here, so you can follow us wherever we are. We appreciate you guys for the support. I think that was a good first starting 9, Ben, and I can't wait to do this again second time.
It's fun.
Till next time.
See you.
Peace.